Hey guys, Collin Chi, Certified Nutritional Consultant, bringing you another talk. Today I want to talk to you guys about the planet Saturn, okay? I want to give you an overview of the planet in relation to astrology, numerology, as well as occultism. And I also want to talk to you about the astronomy of Saturn, the history in religion of Saturn. So much to say about Saturn. It's a very interesting planet. I want to talk to you about Saturn returns in astrology. All the characteristics and traits that make up Saturn, the hexagon on Saturn. I want to go into all these different things. I've done a lot of research on it. It's very interesting. I'll also be talking a little bit about Capricorn as well, obviously, because Saturn is the ruling planet of Capricorn. Saturn, Saturnalia, Saturnia. Saturnalia is the ancient form of basically Christmas and New Year's, because Rome and Italy was actually called Saturnia originally. So they worshipped Saturn in ancient times. They actually thought, not in all ancient times, but in a certain time period, the Golden Age, Saturn was the ruler. Saturn they considered to be the center of their astrological and astronomical system. And there's even alignments in Egypt that align with the original place that Saturn was. And so there's all kinds of stuff, but it's thought that the flower of life, I found this very interesting, may have actually, the symbol, the flower of life, which is a perfect geometrical symbol that's found in all over the world, in all kinds of ancient cultures, Egypt, China, Mesopotamia, all these areas where the flower of life, that perfect geometrical symbol for creation, they've actually considered that form came out of the same form of the wheel in the sky. The wheel in the sky was considered Saturn. And so there's theories that there was a conjunction between Venus, Saturn, and Mars, and it created this form that looked like a wheel in the sky. And that is what people consider the origination of civilization and creation. It's complicated stuff, and this is very scientific, though. This is not, I know this sounds insane, but you have to realize that all religion is based on astronomy. All of it. You have to realize that every single freaking thing comes from astronomy. Everything. Our language, the days of the week. Saturday is Saturn Day. Sunday is the actual sun day. Everything came originally and came out of originally the worship of the stars and the planets in ancient times. So this is where everything, including religion, comes from. The Son of God is the actual sun. And then you have Saturn is Satan. Saturn, Satan. Okay, so the story of in the Bible, it's carrying on this tradition of this mythology that was based on astronomical events. That's where mythology comes from. They didn't just make that stuff up for no reason. They made it up because they were describing what was actually happening in the heavens, or the skies, the solar system, the planets and the stars. So Satan, Saturn, Kronos, the timekeeper, the grim reaper, okay, the old man, and then you have Jesus, the son, okay, the Son of God, okay, fighting each other, right? Because in ancient times, Saturn was considered, like I said, the center of their world. People worshipped Saturn. Saturnalia is the worship of Saturn on December, during December, New Year's and Christmas are truly based on Saturn, okay, originally. There's a lot of talk that your Christianity and a lot of religion these days, Judaism, is a Saturnian cult. It's Saturn worship. The symbol for Saturn being the Star of David, the Star of David, or otherwise known as the Star of Saturn. Now, this goes back to certain reasons, but so you can get the Star of David from the hexagon that's on Saturn, okay? So on actually astronomical planet Saturn, there is a giant hexagon storm at the northern pole of Saturn. Okay, you can look it up online. It's not phooey. It was taken. There were pictures taken of it in 1980, and then again, I believe in 2006 or 2007, showing that there's this hexagon, perfect hexagon shape on Saturn. From that, you get the cube, the black cube. This is what Saturnian people worship, the black cube, because black is the color of Saturn, Capricorn. All this relates to Capricorn, okay? So I'm going to go into that too, but so, and that is basically it's a weather pattern that hasn't changed for 20 some odd years, for 30 years. So the reason being, I don't know exactly the physics and the dynamics that are forming that storm that is in that hexagon shape on Saturn, but I would venture to say it's something similar, probably to cymatics. You know, if you vibrate water or sand at a certain vibration, you get a certain image, you get a symbol, you get an image, you get a geometric pattern. It's called cymatics. If it's called Chladni plates, if you look up a Chladni plate, Chladni. Vibrations change and give you vibrations give you patterns. Okay, so somehow the spinning of Saturn is creating the right vibration. I'm guessing that's causing this hexagon on Saturn. Okay, hex. That's hex. Okay, that's six, a six-sided polygon. Okay, six. The letter 6 is related to Saturn. Okay, and you have 666. Okay, carbon is 6 protons, 6 neutrons, 6 electrons. That's where you get 666, because we are actually carbon-based beings. We are not silica-based beings like some other possible existences out there, maybe. If you look up the crabwood crop circle, or if you look up our message to the stars, the SETI message to the stars, as CETI, we got a response based on, we sent out a message basically through radio waves, signal to outer space, telling them that we are carbon-based beings and telling whatever it may be out there about us. We got a signal, we got a crop circle back 30 years later. And if you don't believe in crop circles, you need to just do some research, because unless we have some seriously advanced machines that are hidden from our daily view, which probably are, it's got to be damn near impossible for a human to create some of these crop circles. So I've done a lot of research into that. You need to really research it if you think it's a bunch of, if you think it's all a hoax. It's ridiculously real. But so 666, we're carbon-based beings, okay? That's where you get originally the number 666. This is all related to Saturn in some way, okay? Because, in the Bible, people were asked to sacrifice their children to Saturn, to Kronos, okay? Kronos, we have the word Kronos, chronology, time, okay? It's the timekeeper. So time is associated with Saturn. So let me get into some of the astrology, and I'll ramble off on tangents. But so you have the timekeeper, the old man. Okay, career is related to Saturn because of the 10th house. It's also limitation, pain, frustration, fear, anxiety, tactfulness, diplomacy. It is delay. It's also making you come down to earth and come to reality, because Capricorn is an earth sign, okay? Capricorn is the goat, so Saturn is the goat fish, or the sea goat in older astrology, which is the dolphin. Okay, so you have these traits of goats. Sometimes they're considered loners. They're very ambitious. They're climbing. They're very, very disciplined and perseverant. They're going to get to where they want to go. Capricorn sun signs I'm talking about. But you need to look at more than your sun sign, of course. You need to look at your moon. You need to look at the aspects. You need to look at the houses. You need to look at your rising sign, your midheaven. All this stuff is important. So these are general conclusions about Saturn, the goatfish. Oftentimes people that are Capricorn will have a somewhat goat-like appearance, even if you actually look at their face. Okay, the goat Baphomet has a goat face with horns. Okay, Saturn, Satan. Okay, hexed. You've been hexed by Saturn. Okay, it's even thought that in the prima mobile or prima mobile, which is kind of some ancient ideas about where the soul comes from, and it basically is thought to descend first down through Saturn's rings, and then it goes through the other six besides Saturn, the other six visible planets, and before entering the Earth realm or dimension, in time, in the sine wave, the dimension of time, hexed by the timekeeper Saturn. Okay, and this stuff is all very accurate. I mean, I've known Capricorns, so I consider myself. I've known Capricorns closely, so I consider myself pretty well aware of Capricorn's different traits. So again, Capricorn's also very organized. It's related to law and order. And ambitious, like I said, they're going to get to where they want to get to, and they're going to have what they want to have, and that's it. So they can be stubborn, but because they don't, and also they, like I said, they have a lot of fear and anxiety. Now this is related to numerology. Okay, so in numerology, the number 6, not even knowing that 6 is any relation to Saturn previously, I found correlation with number 6 seeming to be similar to Capricornian kind of traits, but also finding correlation with number 2, number 4, number 8, and number 6. Those to me all seem to have components of Capricorn or Saturn within them. And in numerology, number 8 is Saturn, but number 8 is all about money, power, and authority. Okay, so and because of the traits of Capricorn, they can often be in positions of management or authority, or supervising or things like that. They naturally are good at that because they're climbers. They're a vertical sign. They are risers. They're climbers. Okay, so they're going to be at the head of organizations, yet they're always going to have this somewhat small speck of lacking self-esteem, because they have the urge to security. They urge for security and safety because Saturn instills in them a fear and an anxiety. What's going to happen? What am I going to do? And so they're always looking for that, and they resonate on a number of chakras, but a lot of people will tell you that they resonate on the base chakra. So, Capricorn is an earth sign. They are very sensual. So the 5 senses are important to them. They can gain pleasure and play from those 5 senses like any earth sign can, to a good degree. And, sometimes their challenge is to overcome the 5 senses. But Capricorn is much more disciplined than, say, Taurus or Virgo usually. So they can overcome those more easily. But they're generally somewhat simple, somewhat subtle, somewhat misunderstood by a lot of people. So number 8 though, number 8, money, power, and authority. Okay, number 2 is the peacemaker. They're warm, they're loving, they're caring, they're feeling kind of, number 2 is feeling. And I do find that resonates a lot, that, they're often just looking, they're not just looking, but they're to a large degree looking for love, security, safety, and that warm home life. But they're also very responsible. Their responsibility and duty are very important to them, so they can often put others before themselves. So I think sometimes they need to not just be seeking fulfillment from other people or through seeking others, but they need to possibly seek themselves also, and try to honor their self and try to be aware of who they are, because they're often so dutiful. Because number 6 is also related to responsibility and duty and harmony. They're also a harmonious, generally, sign. So they're often so uncomplicated and harmonious, we want to create a problem out of Capricorns, and we try to look for more and try to dig more out of them. But, they're not as screwed up as some people, so they don't have to find all these crazy answers and informations and things. But also frustration is related to Saturn. So the more frustrated you are, I have found some correlation, some pattern. I haven't confirmed it well enough yet, but I find that there may be some kind of pattern in numerology with the arrow of frustration, maybe occurring more with Capricorns, I would guess, or people who have a lot of Capricorn energy. They may not be Capricorn sun, but they may have a lot of planets or things in the sign of Capricorn, or their Saturn may be placed in a certain position that becomes the ruler of their chart, or they have a lot of Capricornian energy somehow. They may have that arrow of frustration, which is related to just being frustrated with relationships, with home life, with things like that. And I do think sometimes it can come from possibly always only looking to others for fulfillment and not seeking themselves enough, not being selfish enough. It's hard to respect someone who's not selfish enough, and just always giving to other people. That's a very virtuous quality, of course, but you have to have a balance, right? So that's important. Saturn return in astrology, any of those things I just mentioned, you will be feeling and will be coming up in your life at the time of a Saturn return, which is basically when Saturn comes over the position it was at the time of your birth. This is called your natal Saturn, your natal chart. Because Saturn takes about 28 and a half years to go around the sun, and it'll come back after 28 and a half years, it'll come back to the original place it was at your birth, in your birth chart in astrology. That's called the Saturn return. And at that time, you feel any of those possible things. You may have to be more responsible. It's breaking down your ego. It's telling you this is what it's really going to take in life to get to where you want to go. You're going to have to persevere. You're going to have to be hardworking. You're going to have to be disciplined. This is all Saturn. It really breaks your idealism and brings reality straight to you. And it may break a relationship. It may change a career. If you're very self-aware and not a very conditioned person, if you're not super conditioned and programmed and you're pretty self-aware, then it just may make you just even more ambitious possibly towards what you're already doing. But if you feel differently, if you feel like you're not satisfied in that time period, which really could be from 26 to 32, I would say, depending on how sensitive you are to these ethereal energies, because a lot of people say, oh, when you're 28, you're officially an adult in astrology because you have gone through your Saturn return. But that Saturn return, the transit is a 2.5-year transit. So if it comes around, at 28 and a half, then it's going to last 2.5 years after that. Or, you're going to feel it when it's getting closer, and you're going to feel it as it's, going away. So it could be a 10-year transit for some people. And not enough people tell you this. I mean, I started feeling a Saturn return, I would say, when I was 24 probably. And I'm still feeling it, and I feel like it may be a long one for me But, you know, so if you've been irresponsible, if you haven't really sowed properly, because, okay, so Saturn is the reaper, okay? So, and number 8 in numerology is the harvest. It's also karma, okay? So I'll talk about karma, but the harvest, if you haven't sowed properly for the prior 28.5 years of your life, and you haven't really known who you truly are because you've just done whatever, you know, and this is all related to astrology. Everyone has a different path, but, you know, you don't have complete control over everything, of course, but some people are more conditioned than others. So, and that's probably related to where your planets and stars are at. But basically, I lost my train of thought. So let me talk about karma. I'll come back to that, okay? Karma, Saturn's considered the lord of karma, okay? Number 8 is related to karma. Karma, some people will say, are weaknesses that you need more experience with. This is what numerology thinks, you know? Either weaknesses that you need more experience with in this life that may have come from a past life or came from your parents or came from your past. This is also some of my information and my thoughts on it, but karma can be any of those things. If you have a weakness on certain energies, like you have, let's say you got, you know, a couple karma numbers, number 1 and number 2, you may be weak in the areas of assertiveness, individuality, self-expression, and then number 2, you may be weak on you know, partnership or peacemaking or being warm and loving or something like that. So so some people have more karma numbers than others in numerology. So if the more karma numbers you have, the more experiences you need to have in order to, you know, and the less experience you have in the world, or the more karma you have, the more issues you need to work on. So the more karma you have, you may have a bigger influence of Saturn in your natal chart, possibly, or you know, that could be, but the more karma numbers you have, the harder life is generally going to be on you because you have a lot of inexperience on this plane, or you just either overdid or underdid certain energies in past experiences or past lives, or your parents did. I often consider parents as karma because they're your genes that are being passed down. They're really your past life more than anything because you are their genes. So they're essentially your past life. This is how I think about karma oftentimes, but it's not always past life. It's oftentimes just, you know, your childhood even. So karma, you could have more pain, you could have more frustration, you could have more of any of these Saturn things maybe if you have more karmic numbers in numerology, okay? So I'm trying to remember where I was going with the Saturn return, but if you, you know, you could have a lot of changes. It could be good or bad. You know, if you're being irresponsible for the previous 28.5 years, and now suddenly you have to be responsible because your Saturn's come around, you know, it's also bringing you back to your original self, your birth chart. It's a psychic process that's really helping you understand who you really are, because your natal chart, your Saturn's coming back to that same position. So that's who you were at birth. That was your nature at birth. So it's reminding you who you really are. So we need to listen to these voices in this time period, and if we are not satisfied with a certain path we're taking when this comes, we need to take a different path. We need to listen to that intuition and that our true self. So I do feel that because there's so much frustration also with Saturn sometimes, because it's a hard planet to deal with, you have to face reality. You can't live in la fantasy land that you're just going to do whatever you want for the rest of your life. You're going to realize what it's going to take to be successful and survive in the world. You're going to really become an adult at 28 and a half or 26 to 32, however long it lasts for you. So Interesting stuff. Now, before I go back into that, let me talk a little bit about the astronomy of Saturn too, okay? Saturn is the least dense planet, which is interesting, even though it's the second largest planet. And it's a gas giant. So it's primarily made of hydrogen and a very thick atmosphere. And it's actually wider at the equator. So it's not a perfect ball. It's wider at the equator because it spins so fast. A Saturn day is 10.5 hours, I believe. So whereas a day here is 24 hours. So Saturn is a very cold planet. And like I said, it's the 6th planet from the sun. Number 6 comes up again, okay? So why did they worship Saturn? Like I said, there's thoughts that in ancient times the sky looked a lot different than it does now. Okay, and why are there all these drawings of the wheel in the sky and all these serpent kind of deities or serpent stories of creations or you know, things like this? I mean, all this religion, it comes from Egypt. Egypt comes from Sumer. You know, the civilization sprang out of nowhere, you know, so it seems, 5,000, 10,000, however many years ago. And it's all the religion is just copies of those ancient systems, you know, the Epic of Gilgamesh, you know, in Sumeria. It's the same as the Bible. It's the same thing, you know. Jesus is yes. Yes is the sun. No is Saturn. Okay, yes and no, okay? Opposites, okay? There's so much to it all, folks. Okay, the epic battle of Satan versus, you know, God or whatever. And Kronos, so there's thoughts that Saturn was ruling and then something happened. Maybe some kind of pole shift or something happened and took Saturn and put it in a different position in the sky. And then that was the end of the Saturnian reign. And this is all documented in ancient cultures, mythology, and history and things, okay? So, and then you know, the sun rules. The sun and Jupiter. Jupiter was ruling because Jupiter is the ruler also of Peter, was the ruler of, the ancient ruler of Pisces, okay? In the age of Pisces, in the precession of the equinoxes, we are essentially and were essentially living in the age of Pisces for the last couple thousand years. Every 2,000 years, there's a new sign. We're going backwards in the zodiac for the universal sign, you know. So we're going into the age of Aquarius, okay, which is I know. Pisces was I believe. Okay, Pisces was ruled by Jupiter before we discovered these other planets, you know. So Aquarius is also ruled by Capricorn, or by Saturn. Okay, that's the ancient ruler of Aquarius. So Aquarius, which is the age we're going into, we're gonna really, because of what we've done to the planet and what we're continuing to do, we're gonna come to a heavy, hard realization under the age of Aquarius, and then especially even when we go into the age of Capricorn, because it's going backwards. Okay. So all the destruction that, you know, that we've done, we know that we probably did even also under maybe even in the time of Aries, you know, the god of war. We're going to have some heavy lessons and some reality to face in these coming times. And so we're coming into the age of I know. I believe was the age of Pisces. Jesus was a Pisces, you know, and if you know much about the story of religion and the fact that it's all based on astronomy, and which is called astrotheology, you really get a real picture of the illusion and the manipulation that the Catholic Church or among other peoples have put onto us, you know, for control. Okay, because the whole Christian religion is a giant fraud, and I'm not. I believe in the moral precepts, the moral concepts that Christ represented. But the Bible is an astrological text. It's astrology. That's all it is. Research. Do real research. Go back into ancient times. Go back into our history. Really, really study ancient cultures. It's where it all comes from. Okay? It's all plagiarized. So anyway, what else do I have to say about Saturn? Number 6, prepare for your Saturn return. I'm 20. I'm about to turn 28. So I've been feeling this for a little bit. And there's a lot to it. Hopefully I covered a good amount of it, though. I'm sure I'll have a couple other things to say. Let me see if I missed anything. Saturn is... Capricorn's related to the knees. The color black. I think garnet is its gemstone, I believe. So just a few other things on that. What else? Business. Yeah. So you could become very successful, and you could become, because the 10th house, which is Capricorn rules, is related to like I said, career, status, reputation, ego. So you could actually have a good thing happen at the Saturn return. You could make more money. Number 8, Saturn. That's money, power, and authority. You could enter that realm of actually making more money, taking the next step. Look in your past if you're over the age of 20, whatever. If you're over the age of 28, 30, look at when you were 27. Now, this is also thought of, look at number 27 and 28 and 29 and see if a huge major change happened in your life, because that's often what's going to happen. But this is also why people at age 27, famous people often die at age 27, because they can't take the pressure of Saturn coming in over their natal horoscope. They can't take the reality that's coming into them. Often these people are trying to escape into drugs, these famous comedians or people like this that die at age 27. They're trying to escape, and they don't want to face reality. They just want to have fun and party and be successful, and they burn out, like a candle, just not a candle, but like a freaking, like a firework. They just shoot up and then they burn out because they can't take that transition. So I encourage you to be strong and take it, and rise to your higher self and your higher, but yet, not just your higher, but have a foundation, realize who you really are, take some time alone, or take some time to yourself to honor yourself, and not just living in distraction and escapist mode and looking to everybody else and everything else for entertainment and pleasure and other sources of fulfillment. Try to find a purpose. And this is an important period for you if you're 27, 28, 29 to really make some hard decisions on where to go for the future, okay? It's tough to do, but try to make those decisions founded on what you really think you're going to be able to do for the rest of your life, It's also related to death, so you start thinking about death. The Saturn returns. Saturn, the Grim Reaper, related to death. So you start thinking about that, and you want to figure out what you could do to really have a purpose-filled life, and what you could really do before you die. What would make you feel fulfilled if you were to die tomorrow? Start doing that. So yeah, occultism. Saturn. It goes deep, folks. It goes very, very deep. Very deep. The black cube. Look around the world for the places where the black cube is, folks. There's a lot of interesting stuff about it. And I think that's about all I got on my brain right now. See if there's anything else. Again, be challenging. Chronos. 19.5, hyperdimensional physics. 19.5, volcanoes. Dropping you little hints about secret math, secrets of the universe. This is what I tell you. Okay, a hex is an evil curse, right? So people think that we're getting hexed by Saturn. Is Jesus Saturn? Maybe Jesus is Saturn. I don't know. It could be. If Jesus existed, or if he's not a giant myth that is copying other myths. I mean, he had 12 disciples. You know, he's copying Mythros in ancient times. They're all the same. All these sons of gods are the same. They're all the same. All of them. Abraham. Whoever. Moses. Not Moses, but, you know. Anyway, I think that's all I got. So, look at your Saturn. Look at where Saturn's in your birth chart. Look at your numerology. If you want a consultation on numerology or other such coaching that's filtered through numerology or astrology, give me a holler. Send me an email at collinchi@gmail.com. I'll put the link in the description below, collinchi@gmail.com. If you'd also like a nutrition consultation, because I'm also a certified nutritional consultant, I do that. And that's actually my specialty. So hit me up if you got any nutritional questions. You know, there's also interesting stuff about Saturn and astrology and the signs related to nutrition as well. So like I said, the knees, the bones, the joints related to Saturn. Other things related to Capricorn. So hit me up if you have any questions, if you need anything. If not, as always, hope you enjoyed it. Rise.